1. Do you think people often don't understand you or your difficulties? 2. Do you believe like in your life there are numerous boundaries you have no control over? 3. Are you often asking other people for aid and or feeling that few are eager to help you? 4. Do you feel like the attention or admiration you often deserve is not given to you? Welcome to Minimamindset. If you have answered yes to at least half of the following, you may be an emotional vampire. It's not your fault. Don't take that the wrong way. It only signifies that in the past you were hurt. And as a result, you damage the people around you unwittingly who push you and hurt you. This is a terrible loop. It's vicious. But because you're not even conscious of it, you can't help it. Who are emotional vampires? Emotional vampires have a tendency to drain the emotional energy out of everyone with whom they come in contact. They are exhausting. You need to be constantly aware. They always experience a crisis or a huge event in life. They are specialists in emotional reactions and feeding these emotions, whether they are happy or sad. All emotional vampires deal with low self-appreciation, although not all persons with low self-appreciation are emotional vampires. Low self-esteem occurs in several ways and presents itself differently from person to person, and emotional vampires are persons with a particular subgroup of self-esteem problems. Emotional vampires have 3 specific characteristics: an obsessive desire to have other people's validation/attention, the conviction that nothing is their fault, and the lack of awareness to realize their self-defeating practices. This combination is harmful. They can often pull in and hurt good individuals around them. And don't be deceived, not every emotional vampire is a pitiful loser. You can be one of the most lovely and accomplished persons you meet. Men, women, gorgeous, ugly, wealthy, poor, come in many different shapes and sizes. But as love partners and as friends, they inevitably produce toxic relationships. Let us immerse ourselves in these characteristics and discover if they describe you or someone you know. 1. Excessive need for other validation/attention. One person always dominates conversations with emotional vampires. Everything is about them, their issues, how wonderful they are, how awesome they are, how everybody wants to be like them, how everybody loves them, etc. The overwhelming outpouring of self-centeredness is either illusory about how wonderful you believe to be or delusional in how sad and weak. In the same conversation, often these delusions of grandeur and victimization occur back to back. In any case, it takes only an hour to talk with an emotional vampire until one feels inspired to pound their forehead repeatedly on a hard surface. Emotional vampires are also suitable for large-scale viewing to attract attention. Again, these might either serve themselves or loathe themselves. Think of this obnoxious man in the bureau who stands up and makes an unsuitable announcement to just laugh. Or the girl at the party who shouts, throws a shout and goes out of the room crying. As they say, there's no bad advertising. And if you are just as focused as emotional vampires, it's worth it to create some kind of emotional reaction from those around you, even when you are outraged, pity, wrath, or contempt. The excessive requirement for affirmation and care is what drives individuals away from the emotional vampire at first. The incessant demand for affirmation drains the energy and patience of people. Emotional ups and downs, dramatic victories and disappointments are all tedious, and most people are unwilling to bear it. Therefore, after meeting the emotional vampires, they will make a definite step to ignore them, reassuring the vampire that people are harsh, that nobody likes them, that they are victims, and yet, it is not their fault. 2. The conviction that their problems are not their fault. The unnecessary behavior of emotional vampires triggers unfavorable reactions from others and drives people away. But rather than considering that people responded to them badly because what they said was unpleasant or self-concentrated, or harsh, or whiny, or disgusting or upsetting, all around them are racists, bigots, hollow, rough, frigid, etc. This mix of conduct is insidious. Antisocial behavior, leading to negative reactions from others, leads to an emotional vampire blaming others and feeling even more victims, leading to an even deeper need for validation, and then more antisocial behavior, and so on. An emotional vampire's capacity to rationalize its antisocial behavior can be hypocritical. It goes much further than just projecting negative attributes on others. No, the rationalizations can go much further than that. All men are pigs and want only sex. All women are entitled, because all else is self-centered. All the while, it is clear to anyone else that those folks have it so difficult because their attitudes are sucking and self-centered. There is just one type of person who can get close to an emotional vampire: other people with poor self-esteem. Either they are too dysfunctional to see the harmful repercussions of vampire behavior on them, or they are emotional vampires who want constant dramas, attention, and victimization. Again, in emotional relationships we observe such attractions. And the old saying is true: if somebody you date is crazy, then presumably it implies you're insane. 3. Lack of self-consciousness. One would think that a vampire would eventually start to detect the pattern in which they live. Certain behaviors lead to certain reactions from others. These reactions are not pleasing. So perhaps we should re-examine our conduct and beliefs that yourself is the only constant in all your relationships. This might seem clear, yet the emotional vampire seldom happens. You can't be honest with yourself and take responsibility for your life. They need a scapegoat psychologically, whether it's their appearance, their racists, their office conspiracies, how mom and dad never treat them correctly, or a variety of other self-defeating creeds. This lack of knowledge maintains their fault. The blame game maintains the need for approval and attention. And the search for external affirmation and attention maintains the absence of self-confidence. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this every week.